Hi guys, good morning. This is teacher María Milagros over here. Thank you very much for logging in to listen to this class. As you know, on Friday, May the 7th, my internet completely died and I could not re-enter the class either with my second device, without my second connection, and not even the phone data was working. So this is me finally having internet stable enough to record the session and upload it to YouTube. So thank you very much for being here. I don't know how much you were able to listen on Friday, but basically there are many ways of succeeding at being an entrepreneur. But there are like three common popular ways that are the ones we're going to study during this new module. Remember that we already finished with the module or unit regarding the basics of entrepreneurship, like what is an entrepreneur, what does it involve, what are the characteristics, and what makes an entrepreneur different from an ordinary business person. And we already saw too the difference between leaders and bosses. Why? Because entrepreneurs are usually leaders, not just another boss. They care and they are very keen on setting the example for the ones that come after them. So an entrepreneur is many things: a visionary, a risk taker. He is also a leader, or she, of course, is also a leader, and you should keep this in mind. Now, many of you chose Steve Jobs for the famous entrepreneur's homework, and that was great because he is a great example of a self-made, successful, not only businessman, but entrepreneur. He was always willing to take risks. If you researched him for your homework, you know what I'm talking about. There were many factors against him. He wasn't successful at first. He didn't finish college, but he took the risk. He believed in his idea with this other guy, and they made it. So there is actually no reason not to take risks. Maybe you fear embarrassment, or that your idea or that yourself is going to be rejected, or that you're going to fail. But the worst pain you will ever feel is regret. Of not doing something, of not believing in yourself enough. So it might sound cliche or like super empty, but it is true. And it's one of those things that we only understand fully when we experience it. So if you ever have an idea that you want to pursue that might sound crazy, take the time to research, and if it's actually doable, one, believe in yourself. Two, pursue it, taking the risk, because you're going to regret not taking it. Even if it leads you to failure, we wouldn't learn if we didn't fail. Okay, so this is really important. And if you remember our last lesson, well, not our last lesson, our second to last lesson, we defined risk taking as the key characteristic of an entrepreneur. This is what makes them different, what sets them apart. However, you should know that not all entrepreneurships entail the same level of risk. What does this mean? That within these three types of entrepreneurship that we're going to study, which are buying an existing business, starting a new business, or buying a franchise, they do not involve the same level of risk. Some are easier to do than others. So over the 3 weeks, we will review these three types of entrepreneurship. Buying an existing business is when you acquire or there is a business that is now your own, but that previously was from another person. For example, Instagram. If you don't recognize this guy in the picture, is Mark Zuckerberg, the owner and creator of Facebook. He did not create Instagram. He bought it from another person, and now it is his property. Okay, but he didn't create it from scratch. So buying an existing business is when something is already created and someone else buys that business. Then we have starting a new business, which is, in the case of Mark Zuckerberg, what he did with Facebook. He built it from scratch. He started this social platform from zero in the ground. This is the second type of entrepreneurship. And then number 3 is buying a franchise. It's like when there is already a registered brand or something that is like really famous and you're like, okay, I want to open mine or one of those establishments, but of my own. So you use the name, but the establishment itself belongs to you. Starbucks, for example, if you want to open your independent Starbucks, you need to purchase the rights and then open it. McDonald's in here, Chipa Cookie, for example, is one business that works with this business model, and so on. But now we're going to focus only on the first one. We'll study it not based on theory, but based on a case. In this case of the situation of this person called Chandra, and how she bought an existing business and what it implied for her. The first thing we need to look at is her story. So let's get to know this person. First of all, Chandra, started walking dogs at Waggy Tails. Waggy Tails is like a pet establishment. When she was pregnant with her first child. So she went there and she was like, okay, I need a job, please. Do you have an opening? And they were like, okay, you can walk dogs. And that's your job. She said, okay. And that was her job. So after a couple of months, now we are in step 2 or stage 2, the owner of the business needed to sell the business. So Chandra and her husband decided to buy the business. After her son was born, she hired her first 2 employees and she turned her love of animals into a whole service of a pet care business. Imagine not only walking dogs, but taking care of them and showering and cutting their fur or whatever it's called, and hiring more people. You have receptionists, you have someone who takes appointments. It's getting bigger, you see? Then 5 years ago, she added a dog groomer. That's a person who who grooms the dog, who actually cuts the fur or hair, if it's called hair, I really don't know. So she now has 2 mobile dog grooming vans that travel the city and 12 full-time employees. What does this mean? That she started with a very small business and she started growing little by little, hiring more people, and now she has 2 like vans. Imagine a food truck, but that is oriented towards taking care of dogs, that travel the city, and she has 12 employees full-time that work all the time for her. Then if we look back on this decision, and we talked to Chandra, okay, she says that buying Waggy Tails was a very big risk. Why? Because she and her husband took out loans and used up all of their savings. If you recall our class of entrepreneurship, we said that sometimes people spend the savings of a lifetime trying to start a business, and they fail because it's not that easy. And this was the case of these people. They used everything they had to buy the business. And they could have lost everything if it failed, because if you spend all your money in one thing, then you don't have anything to come back to. But today they have a growing business and a growing family, and they're doing well. Now, once we know her story, we should go and examine the situation of the establishment itself. So if we were Chandra and we were trying to see if we should buy the business or not without knowing that it will be successful in the future, because of course we saw the whole picture. Sorry. But in that first moment, she couldn't predict the future to see that it was going to be successful. So when she first thought about buying the business, she had to examine some things. The first thing is the business history. She knows Waggy Tales from working there, already had many clients, a mailing list, and a marketing plan. So it was a established business. Then there was a very hard situation because the money was barely making money. So it was barely profitable. And there was a gigantic tax bill to pay very soon. Remember when we saw mixed economies, when we say taxes are really important because that's where the government gets the money to pay for education, hospitals, roads, libraries. Yes. So the business had to pay a huge tax bill to the government very soon. So you have this strong point about the business history, but you have this weakness about the bills to pay. So Chandra talked to an expert before buying the business. And this expert suggested that Chandra make a spreadsheet with the risks and benefits to get an idea of what to expect. And this is what she did. She grabbed all the list of things that she could consider that were important in order to make the decision. And she made two columns, okay? The benefit column and the risk column. So if we identify the benefits with a check mark and the risks with an X, and we had to classify this for every item in this list, how could we do that? Well, let's see. If something to consider is that we do not have to spend any money in buying or renting a new space, like in order to have the establishment in a physical space, would that be positive or would that be negative? Well, of course, positive because it involves no spending at all. I don't have to spend more money than I already have to spend buying the business. So it's a plus for me to consider. Then, okay, I might consider the initial cost of buying the business, which is very high. Okay, I have to spend a lot of money in actually buying the establishment. So is that good or is that bad? Of course it's bad. I have to spend money just for the fact that I have to spend money. It's a risk because I don't know if it's going to pay off or not. So it's a risk. Then we have the machines are very old. This is something interesting because, okay, it's good that I have machines, but since they're old, they could break down or they could release something that is newer and more effective. And then I would have to buy another machine and that would cost me more money. So the fact that the machines are old, it's actually a risk because it's not impacting me in a positive way. So we're going to label that as risks. Then we have already has location, products, and customers. Okay, this means that it already has a physical space that people know it's there. It's like when you go to the school, you already know where it is and people know it's there. It already has a location. Then it has products and it has customers. So people already know it exists. People already buy there or take their dogs there and know the services and products that it offers. So that would be a positive thing for me to consider. Then has customer loyalty. I know because I work there, if I were Chandra, of course, that people come back. We have regulars coming in that do not choose other establishment, but ours. So it has customer loyalty in this case. And that is positive because it means that they will come back to me as the new owner. And then Chandra could be her own boss. This one's easy. Is being your own boss positive or negative? Well, mostly it would be positive. Okay, remember that we saw that it was actually one of the many motivations that people can have in order to start their own business, the chance of being their own boss. So in this case, it would be very positive. After we look at this, we say, okay, we need to add what we have right here in order to know if it has more benefits or more risks. So we're like, okay, how many benefits do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what about risks? 1, 2. So it has more benefits than risks, as you see over here. What does that mean? That the risk of failure is low because the benefits are the double of the risks in this case. So after Chandra did this and saw the result, she was like, okay, I will buy it because I have more chances of succeeding than I have of this being a complete mess. And this is the reasoning behind buying an existing business, okay? These are the pros and the cons of buying an existing business. This business opportunity allows the entrepreneur to purchase a business that already has a location, products, customers. So people already know it's there, they're loyal, and they keep coming back, and they know where it is. Think of your favorite store or I don't know, a supermarket that your parents like to go to. They know the establishment, they keep coming back, they know the products, they know what they can buy there, and it's already like in their minds. So this is something really positive for a business. Also, there is a lower risk of failure because of all of this, but the new owner often accepts the benefits and risks of the business they purchased. You cannot just take the good part, you have to take it all, or you don't take it at all. This is very important for you to know. So the assignment, like on Friday, but that you're going to do today, is mostly like we always do. First, you make sure everything we just discussed is clear. If you have any question at all, you can send me an email. You can leave a comment in the wall in Academia, or you could save it for Friday and we can discuss it. Then the second phase is copying in your notebook a summary of the presentation. Phase 3, make sure to include the different types of entrepreneurships, the basics of Chandra's story, and the risks and benefits in that summary that you're going to make. And then, of course, enjoy your weekend. And if you see this after Monday, well, enjoy your week and wait for the weekend to come. Thank you very much, guys, for your attention. Thank you for bearing through this video with me. See you, hopefully, on Friday. Mwah.